Now, the Post Office campaigners Lee Castleton, Seema, Misra and Chris Head have received their OBEs from the Princess Royal today. They've campaigned for victims of the Horizon IT scandal when more than 900 sub-postmasters were convicted of theft and fraud based on faulty data. And finally, it's called a colossal squid.
My goodness, it's tricky, isn't it? Because it's changing so much at the moment, Carol.
Absolutely right, Sal. That is the word of the week. The weather is changeable.
We need our sunshine back. Carol, thank you.
Now, some of the former sub-postmasters who turned campaigners in the Post Office scandal are going to receive OBEs at Windsor Castle today.
Yes, it comes a day after Sir Alan Bates called on victims to take legal action against the government over delays to compensation. Peter Roddick has the very latest.
From wrongful conviction to royal recognition. Today, nearly a decade and a half after being jailed while pregnant, Seema Misra will receive an OBE for her services to justice.
I was into the prison without any fact or any evidence. Now inquiry got the whole list of the people.
Seema will be honoured alongside fellow campaigners, including Lee Castleton. By the end of last month, more than £890 million had been paid out by the government to more than 6,000 claimants across 4 separate compensation schemes. However, that leaves more than 4,000 claimants waiting. Some have passed away. Others have challenged offers as derisory.
We're all here to share our experiences.
Now the man whose fight back inspired a drama, gripped the nation and forced a change in government policy has issued a new call to arms. Sir Alan Bates has described his redress scheme as a mess. He said all the schemes suffered from common failures and that legal action could be the quickest way to ensure fairness for all.
Going to court is no easy because I know, like, when my trial went through 2009, went through trial, then GLO as a group before, then in High Court, and then in public inquiry as well. It just drains you out. It just drains you out.
Sir Alan told fellow campaigners he'd studied progress of the Horizon IT scandal claims so far, and that with so many large, complex cases outstanding, full and final redress could be more than 2 years away. Ministers say they do not accept this forecast.
Everyone in the country wants this resolved as quickly as possible, and that's why we've increased the pace so much, but I can only go off the data, and the data tells me we've had this massive increase in compensation payments since the election, and we will not stop until we've done the right thing by everybody.
Swapping Post Office court and inquiry rooms for the palace may be a welcome distraction, but for Seema, they are just that, a distraction from the end goal. Peter Roddick, BBC News.
And later in the programme, we'll be talking more about this with 2 former sub-postmasters who'll join us live. Now, some of the former sub-postmasters who've turned campaigners in the Post Office scandal will be receiving OBEs at Windsor Castle later today.
Yes, this comes a day after Sir Alan Bates called on victims to take legal action against the government over delays to compensation. Peter Roddick has the very latest. We are joined now by former sub-postmaster Chris Head and sub-postmistress Janet Skinner. Morning to you both. Chris, just to remind everybody at home of the situation, you were the youngest sub-postmaster at the age of 18. You were falsely accused of stealing more than £80,000 before the criminal case against you was dropped. You've had compensation offers, more than one, but now that is still less than 34% of your claim, so you haven't settled. So today, I know you're looking ahead to going and getting your OBE today, but today, when you're thinking about compensation, what do you think you should do?
Look, I think that, we're rapidly running out of options. I said we were failed originally, by the Post Office, and now we're being failed again by the government. That the promises have been made over and over again that they're going to pay redress, which is full and fair, to put postmasters back in the position that we would have been in had the scandal not happened. And as you're saying, the government's setting all these expectations of like they're going to do this, and then when the offers drop on the door, they're for derisory amounts. And these are the people that are most impacted. You've got Janet Skinner there, you've got Seema Misra who went to prison as well. All these people, they've been waiting the longest for their claims to be settled, and the offers that are being made are just not acceptable. It's just not good enough.
Janet, we've spoken before about how you were jailed before your conviction was quashed. Do you want to just tell people about the effect on you and your life of the wait now, which goes on for compensation?
I mean, it's like Chris said, the cases are complex and individual cases are complex and there's a lot to it. But it is painstakingly hard and it's been a long, hard battle. But my actual claim was only submitted in March. So they've received the full claim and I'm yet to be made any offers, which I didn't expect it to be soon anyway. But there is a lot of people that have had claims through that process for quite a long time and been offered quite small amounts of their actual claims.
And we know that different sub-postmasters have different approaches to compensation and are fighting this in different ways. But for you, Janet... To be honest, and you just want to move on with your life. You want to be able to, put it behind you. We've gone through the second site investigation. That lasted for 2.5 years. We went through the group litigation, which lasted for 3 years. We went through the Court of Appeal. That was sort of just short of a year. It's just, everything's just a long, drawn-out process. And we just all, I think each and every one of us just want to be able to move forward. We have all of these broken promises, which is what we got last year. I mean, myself, Tracy Felsted and Lee Castleton was in Parliament last year, which is a year ago tomorrow. We met with Rishi Sunak, went in P&Q questions, met with Keir Starmer, and they're all making these big promises that things are going to change. A year later down the line, and for me, nothing's changed, and for quite a lot of people, nothing's changed.
And Chris,
the government.
And
look, I mean, it is an honour and a privilege to receive the recognition, but at the same time, it overshadows it because obviously you want to receive that at the end of the process. So there's far too many people that are still waiting for compensation, and they've been waiting far too long. But it's just not right. I said, like Janet said, it's broken promises after broken promises, and the government and Post Office combined, and Fujitsu for that matter, they all have to be held to account. And obviously that fight needs to go on. I'm lucky in the sense that I'm still, young, compared to many, many people in the group who are elderly, vulnerable, or people who have sadly already passed away. That fight must continue to make sure that everybody receives the compensation that they're due. And secondly, that those responsible for causing this in the first place are held to account.
Chris, what's the impact on your daily life now?
It's just re-traumatising people. I said the government sets expectations that they're going to deliver full and fair redress, and then you get your first offer, which for me was nearly 2 years ago. And the first offer drops and it's for 13%, and then you fight for 3 or 4 months more and you get another 5 or 6%, and 2 years later you're up to only 30-odd%. So I said it's re-traumatising. It has a huge impact on your mental health. It has a huge impact on on physical health. Like Janet said, we just want to wake up one day and not have to think about the Post Office. But the fight has to go on.
But I just don't think that the court process of suing the government is the right avenue to go down, because I just think it's just going to stonewall people's claims. It's going to just stop everything, and people are then going to have to then fight again. And I mean, the courts, we're already fighting for fair compensation. I just don't think courts is the right way.
Let's finish on a positive, shall we, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going back into Windsor after this. I've got my family down with me, so we'll travel into Windsor just after lunchtime. Obviously, looking forward to it. But like I said, it would be nice if obviously this was the end of the process. So, we don't know who's giving out the awards yet, so we have to see that when we get there. And then obviously I said that we'll continue on where we left off tomorrow, which is the campaign to make sure that we get people to redress their owed.
OK, Chris and Janet, thank you very much indeed.
Congratulations to all of you.
Congratulations to all of you, says Janet from Hull. Good message. Thank you. And from all of us as well, Chris, have a good day. Janet, thank you for your time, and we'll speak to you soon, no doubt.
Probably.
It's incredible.